Welcome back to the Crypto's Key conversation. We're going to quickly jump into this right now. This is from Crypto Law right here. It says, at today's financial CMTE organizational meeting with Chair Patrick McHenry laid out his objectives on crypto policy with a stinging rebuke of Gary Gensler's regulation by enforcement. Let's take a quick listen into this.
Gary Gensler's regulation through enforcement isn't protecting consumers. Americans have lost billions of dollars in digital assets to bad actors on his watch. It's our job as legislators to provide clear rules of the road for this technology, and those clear rules of the road need to protect consumers while allowing innovation to thrive here in the United States. And I think we can achieve that balance. This is why I've created a subcommittee on digital assets, chaired by Congressman Hill.
All right, let's go. We're waiting for that new day to come. So just a waiting game to kind of see what happens. This is from Library. And if you've been paying attention, John Deaton was a part of this last hearing in regards of Library in regards to the secondary sales of classifying those library tokens as not security. So we're going to cover a little segment of that later on from Crypto Eddie's YouTube video as well. But this is Library saying Coinbase should relist XRP. Under the SEC versus Library standard, XRP sold by secondary holders is not a security, which we all agree on. We highly doubt that Coinbase is going to relist. They're going to just kind of wait out this litigation between Ripple versus SEC and kind of see what the verdict is, and then move forward from there. This is from Jeremy Hogan. It says, below is the LBC weekly chart up 100%, and Library completely lost the SEC lawsuit and is going into bankruptcy. What does this mean via or vice XRP asking for a friend with a smiley face? Look at this. I think this was from BCB, the blockchain backer. But yeah. So after some positive news, I mean, you get a skyrocket. And I think XRP Crypto Wolf hit it on the head right here. He says XRP will defy the bear market after Ripple wins the SEC case. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but it's just kind of a waiting game to kind of see what happens. And I like this one from Ala Markets and Events. If you come over here, it says proven use case XRP, and it says proven useless Chairman Gensler. And right here, this is are you okay with the script? So remember, they were exposed in regards of her hooking Chairman Gensler up with the questions that she was supposed to, throw at him just naturally without him having preparation for. Her and her office had emailed him the questions and gave him even some specific answers on how to answer the questions. And it was stated, is this okay? We don't want to, I think it was something along the lines of like, we don't want to throw you for a loop, or we don't want to, have you trip up or have you stumble. But it's like, you guys are supposed to be, she's supposed to be, this is Elizabeth Warren. You're supposed to be regulating him, and he's supposed to be regulating the markets and, making sure he's protecting investors. But she's giving him the script so he can, knock those balls out the park whenever she was asking him the questions. It's just shameful, but I thought this was hilarious. It says, are you okay with the script? Coming over here, it says, come in and talk to us. And then this is Sam Bankman-Fried. I did several times. Crazy, man. Crazy. This is John Deaton. This is Crypto Eddie. Shout out Crypto Eddie. That says breaking. Attorney John Deaton speaks to judge for secondary market sales clarity of crypto assets. Let's take a quick listen into this.
Came down and the judge said Library violated the law. His decision didn't specifically address secondary market sales, so it was left open and vague. And so we filed an amicus brief because the SEC was seeking an injunction. And we're going to bring up the injunction because that was the main focus of why I was there today. We all know how the SEC loves for it to be vague so that they have maximum prosecutorial options available to them. So that's why we got involved and said, listen, that's disastrous. And we went to the judge and basically arguing that we don't have a position on disgorgement. That's with Library and the SEC on what fine Library pays. But this injunction and secondary market sales are very, very important. I stood up with the judge when he gave me the opportunity. I said, listen, I respectfully disagree with you. That injunction is so overbroad that it does bring into secondary market sales into play, for your honor. That's before you. You still, please, have to address this secondary market issue. That article says that your decision reads like you could be saying that LBC is a security in and of itself, the token itself. And Judge, if you don't mean that, then we need to clarify something. And then he did something great. He basically looks over at the SEC and says, you agree, right, with him that, imagine that. I want everybody to imagine that a judge looking over at the SEC attorney saying, you agree with Deaton, right? They weren't that happy about it. And the judge said, you got to make a commitment. And he said, let's use an example. And he said, library sold to an investment club who took the LBC and put it in cold storage, a direct sell. The judge said, I found that to be an unregistered securities offering. And you agree with me, right, SEC? And they go, yes. Then the judge said, but if Flipside sells it to someone else in the secondary market, independent of library, you got to agree that that's not, my order doesn't apply to that scenario. And that's the victory that we got. The SEC had to concede that on the record in real time. Then he looked at me and said, amicus, he goes, I'm going to make it clear that my order does not apply to secondary market sales. The devil's in the details. When we see his decision, we'll know how successful this has been or not successful. There'll be a transcript, so everybody will get to read everything that I've been saying. There'll be more detail, obviously, in it. This hearing today, if you think we're getting regulations from Congress soon, then this hearing's irrelevant, right? Because Congress will give us our clarity. If we're not going to get any clarity from Congress, there's not going to be some legislation that says something that defines a security or not a security, if the CFTC has it or whoever. If we're not going to get that for a couple of years, then this hearing was extremely important. And every hearing in crypto will be important because that's the only clarity we will get. So if we get it in writing, like the judge said today, that this decision is only about when the library sold to a specific person on a specific day, the token's not a security, and secondary market sales are not in play because there are people using this technology, that is a huge victory. You take your victories when you can get them. And then nowadays, when we can get any victory in crypto, when we have a war against crypto, you take it. And, I wish Jeremy Kauffman and Library the best. They were valiant fighters. And I should say that when that transcript is released, you saw a little bit of it tonight. When it's released, it should go to every one of the senators and congressmen on the banking committees and the financial services committee, because it is powerful. It is an American entrepreneur standing up and saying, okay, we lost, I'll accept it, but tell me how I can now do this and comply. And the answer is, we don't give guidance. And
Yeah, they don't give guidance. We don't do that here. We are the SEC. We don't give guidance here. We want it to be vague, and you guys just figure it out so we can come after you and collect the money and control the narrative. That's what it is. They're not protecting investors. They're hurting investors. I wanted to cover this from CNBC. This is today at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard. It says Fed raises rates a quarter point, expects ongoing increases. So we can expect some increases going forward. We'll see in the next FOMC meeting, kind of see what they do there. Obviously, it's going to affect markets. If we come over here, let's see if it'll show us in the top here. See what we're looking like. Let's look at crypto. See, we're all green in crypto. Everything's looking green. U.S. S&P up 1.5 or 1.05%, Nasdaq 2%. So we're having some positive movement here. So obviously, they have if they have a hawkish conversation or dialogue, but they're taking like a more dovish approach. Obviously, we're not at 75 basis points. If it's 25, hey, that's positive. We got to take the small wins. We'll kind of see as we go forward. If they start tapering off, see they start opening the money printers, see how that affects our market, going forward. But this is nice. Seeing a little bit of green there. Quickly, if we come over here to CoinGecko, we're currently sitting at a $1.119 trillion market cap. Bitcoin sitting at 23,766. Ethereum sitting at 1647. XRP sitting at 41 cents. So some positive price action there. If we come over here, look at this. Bitcoin Fear Greed Index, we're in greed at 60, and this is going to come into play. Keep this in mind as we move on to these last few tabs here. This is from Cointelegraph. It says, judge dismissed proposed class action suit alleging Coinbase securities sale. The decision did not address the question of whether the 79 tokens in questions were securities, but dismissed claims based on the Securities and Exchange Acts. It's I want to come down here to this. It says, this is from Bankless. It says, class action lawsuit against Coinbase dismissed by U.S. judge. Coin up 5% on the news. So obviously there's going to be some positive price action with a narrative coming out like that. But I just want to throw that in there. So remember that this on the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. We're on greed, right, at 60. Check this out. Remember the reverse Jim Cramer? Right here it says, Jim Cramer says we're in a bull market and to buy the dip. It's quote unquote buy the dip. So you know what that means. I mean, you see us in greed. Usually when there's some greed, even if we're just in the low levels of greed and not all the way over here, you might want to start taking some profit. I mean, that's just kind of how, how the, I guess you could say the smart investors or traders, that's kind of how they kind of do it. Obviously buy when it's way over here, extreme fear. And then as you start coming over here, start taking some profit, never financial advice. It's just kind of what it is. Jim Cramer, the reverse Jim Cramer. So buy the dip, and you got people down here saying, they're saying like, oh my God, no. And they're saying sell. It's just, I would hate to have this guy's reputation. It's terrible. But that's what I have for you. Make sure you come to the Crypto is Key Conversation YouTube channel, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at Crypto is Key 1. I really appreciate your support out there. With all that being said, stay strong out there and be safe.